Good day, everyone. We are Victorious, and today we are going to discuss one of the important issues in the field of science, which is the gender inequality or discrimination in the scientific community. Likewise, we'll be presenting some of the remarkable women in the history of science who made significant contributions to the scientific community.
Gender discrimination is still an issue even today. It undoubtedly has a great impact on the development of a certain institution or society, as people are treated differently simply because of their gender and not on their actual skills and knowledge. Because of gender discrimination, there will be no room for improvement, and the chance for learning from all aspects of life is rapidly decreasing, especially in the field of science. Women mostly experience such situations as their capabilities are discriminated against simply because they are female. And even today, a lot of people actually still believe that women are not suitable in any professions because they must tend to work at home. There is indeed a gender gap in terms of employment. It is much difficult to find jobs for women compared to men. Because of this, the near future is indeed at risk. According to CNN, the field of science is often considered a male-dominated field. In fact, there are less than 30% of scientific researchers worldwide are women. This is according to United Nations data. According to various studies, women are discouraged from pursuing the fields of science, engineering, and technology because of gender discrimination, and their skills are overshadowed by such an issue. However, despite these challenges and hindrances, they remain determined and committed to change the lives of humans and help advance medicine. Despite the fact that they are unrecognized in the scientific community, they continue to pursue their dream to serve the people. There are actually numerous inspiring women who have made historic and extraordinary contributions to science and medicine that helped us enhance our understanding of the world around us. They indeed serve as an inspiration to future female scientists, engineers, and medical professionals. We already know the story of Marie Curie and her discovery of radium, polonium, and her contribution to treatments for cancer. Grace Hopper as one of the first programmers of the modern computing age, and Sally Ride as the first American woman in space. Moreover, this indeed relate on the concept of women in science. We all know how women contribute to improve all aspects of lives. Thus, they have no doubt have a crucial role in society, making everything around us more convenient. They are not just women in science because the presence of women in science have made significant and historical contributions since the earliest times. Our group will be mentioning 4 more women we should all know who have also helped advance the field of science and medicine and actually made a big difference in our lives.
Meet Katherine G. Johnson, a woman known for her great contribution to space exploration, a human computer. She lived from August 26, 1918 through February 24, 2020. I first heard of her name in junior high school when we were asked to do a movie review. A character was based off of her, and that particular character made quite an impact to me. I'll go through that later on. For now, let's get to know her better. Katherine Johnson was a woman who loved her job. One of her famous quotes says, "Like what you do, and then you will do your best." Johnson worked in NASA, or National Aeronautics and Space Administration, for over 33 years. She was one of the most inspirational icons of the agency. She was a member of the Space Task Group, and in 1960, she co-authored a paper with one of the group's engineers about calculations for placing a spacecraft into orbit. It was the first time a woman in her division received credit as an author of a research report. Johnson authored or co-authored 26 research reports during her career. Johnson studied and calculated trajectories for rockets to successfully orbit Earth and land on the Moon, geometry for space travel. In NASA's Mercury program, Katherine Johnson played an important role in crewed space flights. Remarkably, in 1961, she calculated the path for Freedom 7. Freedom 7 is the spacecraft that put the first US astronaut, Alan B. Shepard Jr., in space. With John Glenn's trust, she worked to verify the calculations of the electronic computer, which had planned the flights correctly. In 1969, Katherine Johnson also calculated when and where the rocket of the Apollo 11 mission launched the first 3 men to the moon. Even though Katherine Johnson's deserved recognition may have come late, still, she had a lot of achievements. Former US President Barack Obama awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015, the nation's highest civilian honor. She also received Silver Snoopy Award, an award given to those who have made outstanding contributions to flight safety and mission success. She was on the BBC's list of 100 women of influence worldwide in 2016. A facility originally founded in 1993 is dedicated by NASA in honor and celebration of her accomplishments and named it after her. The facility in Fremont, West Virginia was renamed into Katherine Johnson Independent Verification and Validation 4th and 5th Facility. Also, back in 2017, NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, dedicated the new Katherine Johnson Computational Research Facility in recognition of her work. In 2016, Margot Lee Shetterly authored a nonfiction book with 3 main characters based on 3 real African American women, namely Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. Entitled Hidden Figures, this book features how women worked behind NASA's space missions. In the same year, the book was adapted into a movie of the same name, directed by Theodore Melfi. The 3 mathematicians were played by actresses Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe. The film showed how they faced the color segregation back in the 60s, as well as the discrimination against them for being women working in the field. It received plenty of nominations and won awards. According to IMDb, Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, and Katherine Goebbels Johnson crossed all gender, race, and professional lines, while their brilliance and desire to dream big beyond anything ever accomplished before by the human race firmly cemented them in US history as true American heroes. Finally, here are some more of Katherine Johnson's quotes. Girls are capable of doing everything men are capable of doing. Sometimes they have more imagination than men. And I don't have a feeling of inferiority. Never had. I'm as good as anybody, but no better.
Another prominent woman in the field of science is Dorothy Hatchkin. She is a British chemist who was a foremost leader and innovator in her field. The major impact of her work led to her becoming the only female British scientist to win a Nobel Prize so far. She is recognized for her work in chemistry using a technique called X-ray crystallography, which she used to find out or discover the 3-dimensional shapes of penicillin, vitamin B12, and insulin. Accurate knowledge of the shape of penicillin was absolutely pivotal in understanding how it could overcome bacterial infections. As a result, Hatchkin's work on the discovery of this structure of penicillin is still extremely important in the development of new antibiotics, which are currently badly needed as some bacteria have developed resistance to existing drugs. On the other hand, Dorothy Hatchkin's discovery of insulin's 3D structure paved the way for many scientific breakthroughs in diabetes research. In 1969, after 35 years of enormously tenacious and brilliant work, she solved the 3D shape of the insulin molecule. Insulin is an important hormone used by the body to process sugars in food, and understanding its structure has helped untangle the mechanism of its action, with critical implications for human diabetes control. Moreover, Hatchkin's pioneering work in crystallography gave birth to a whole new field that applied the methods she developed to large biologically important molecules, including DNA and proteins. Hatchkin's works have helped in discovering 3D shapes of over 139,000 biological molecules. Thus, as a female scientist, Hatchkin has made significant and important contributions to the scientific community. In this way, Hodgkin's legacy is multifaceted. She was not only an exceptional scientist, but also was and continues to be an inspirational role model to generations of researchers, both male and, very importantly, female researchers and scientists. As she stated, "I believe in perfecting the world and trying to do everything to improve things, but not because I know what's to come of it." As much as her words, Hodgkin's legacy proves that women can do it too. Many people think there was not women scientists and engineers, but actually, women have participated and contributed in the field of science and other related disciplines. Today, the era of globalization and rapid technological development has changed people's lives dramatically. The roles of men and women have changed dramatically in the contemporary society. Increasing numbers of women are gaining and using academic qualifications and working in occupations which for a long time were male preserved. However, while this demonstrates that the gender orientation of research and occupations can change, the positions occupied by women within them still tend to be more junior than those of men. What is more, male influence persists at all levels, especially in the field of mathematics and physics, and in pure research and in the field of industrial applications. The fact that women are kept away from knowledge and occupations, which play a key role in modern societies such as those related to science and technology, is unfair and hurtful both for women and for society as a whole. This is because it deprives itself of their skills and knowledge. Thus, it is important to improve our information on the place women occupy in science and technology. In order to improve women's access to scientific and technological studies and careers, and to achieve greater equality in the relations between men and women throughout society. As much as women scientists like Dorothy Hodgkin have helped the development of our society, people should equally value their worth and capacity in order to achieve a sustainable and equitable development.
Sophia Louisa Jex-Blake, first British woman doctor. She's a very important woman in science. So, Jex-Blake, she was born in Hastings, England. She published an essay entitled Medicine as a Profession for Women in 1869. She published this essay that encouraged 6 more other women to stand for the revolution and allowing women to enter the world of medicine. They were named Edinburgh 7. So the University of Edinburgh, their court, to be exact, their university court, approved their admission, and it made this university the very first university to allow admission of women in Britain. Jex-Blake actually was raised by a conservative father. First, she graduated from Queen's College in London. When she graduated, she became a tutor, but she was actually prohibited to, receive her salary. What? So I think that this kind of situation is quite familiar for us women. To me personally, like sometimes we are placed to what the society tells us. We are placed to where the society tells us where we belong, right? Like we are sometimes restricted. Maybe it's because of our gender, like we are women. And sometimes because we are women, we are limited. And I experienced that before, when you're just a kid and you're like talking about your dreams and stuff, your plans. So every time a kid, especially a girl, or even myself, every time I talk about my plans, or sometimes I mention random things like I'll be a firefighter. So like other people would laugh at me and they think that I am incapable of becoming one, because firefighters are indeed, let's just be realistic, like they're very, very physically they are very physically involved, and I know that, and we are then sometimes limited. Other people especially thinks that we cannot actually be as effective, right? if we're women, like we are less effective in that field because it's about the physical strength, and others like think we are really incapable of doing such a thing. So sometimes it is the society that decides for who we become, right? The society sometimes sets this standard, like, okay, you're a woman and this is just where you belong. And it's also actually very common up until now. Sometimes other people like, why are you doing that? You're a woman. But for education and knowledge does not become available for a specific gender alone, right? It is for all who are curious enough, who are driven enough to find the answers out of those curiosities. So now this girl right here, Jax Blake, she actually made a campaign. Not just made, she actually became a leader of a campaign, that Edinburgh 7, about studying in the field of medicine. So during the time when they were going through that, and they were planning to file for admission in the specific university, opposition was very evident, right? So opposition was evident that even at the time these ladies, the Edinburgh 7, were about to take their exam, a ruckus happened, preventing them to take it. This ruckus is called the riot at Surgeons Hall. So we can see that it's been very tough for them. It's been very tough for them because before they were allowed to take this admission, it went through a lot of processes, right? So here the university ended up actually accepting them, letting them take the exams and even completing the whole course. Wow. But yes, there's a but. They did not guarantee a degree, right? So even after they finish the whole, what do we call that? Even if they finish everything, and even if they excel, it doesn't mean that they will be graduating with their diplomas and all, right? It's very insulting for me. So because it was not just something for her to play with or something, she actually continued her career in London, and she passed the examination in Dublin. She was qualified as a licentiate of the King's and Queen's College of Physicians of Ireland, right? So this girl actually ended up becoming a physician, and she also made her way to found different institutions, medical institutions supporting women to study the field of medicine. And it's just very inspiring, like to learn that women are actually capable, and we are not just capable, right? As a woman, well, I'm using the word "we" of course, because it makes me want to stand more. It makes me want to embrace my gender more, because women like her, like Sophia Louise Jax Blake, is worth of the talk. That she did not just fought for the degree, she actually fought for the education, right? It was the knowledge she was looking after, and it was not just to be called effective just as a man, it was also to be effective for the society, right? So sometimes people misunderstand women, because I actually also encounter this when I stand, or when I try to make myself clear in stating that, you know what, we are all equal, we are all capable, though we have our different set of limitations and this and that. Sometimes they think that we women are trying to, somewhat replace men, or somewhat tell them that they are more incompetent than us. But for me, it's like building up women is also building up the society, because we do not compete for our we do not compete to each other, we compete for each other. I think there's a difference, right? When you compete to each other and when you compete for each other. When you compete to each other, you just want to be the best and to be above everyone. But when you compete for each other, you want to compete and you want to be the best for everyone. Because it does not just benefit you, but also the society, the people that surrounds you, right? So, very inspiring. And really, this girl, we should thank her. If you are interested in studying medicine, if you are currently studying in the field of medicine, or if you have the dream of studying the field of medicine, I think we should also acknowledge this woman here. We should also thank her. Because of her, we are actually able to study medicine confidently.
Alice Augusta Ball, 1892 to 1916. She is an African-American chemist who is known for her extraordinary development of the most effective treatment for the symptoms of Hansen's disease or leprosy until the 1940s. Her contribution in the field of science was called as the Ball method. Alice was the first African-American woman to graduate with a master's degree from the University of Hawaii. She is also the first African-American chemistry professor in the University of Hawaii's chemistry department. The picture in the presentation was Alice's chulmugra oil, which is injectable and absorbable by the bloodstream. It was during the early 20th century, a disease called leprosy affected a lot of people, as it is an infectious disease that causes severe, disfiguring skin sores and nerve damage in skin areas on the body. Then, Alice found a cure of such disease from the tree of chulmugra, which then she produced as an oil that is injectable and absorbable by the bloodstream. Alice Ball indeed made an exceptional history in the field of science and medicine through her hard work and dedication to find a cure and treatment of Hansen's disease, also called as leprosy. At the age of 23, she had developed and produced such a remarkable treatment, which is from chulmugra oil. This technique was known as the Ball method, and it was the only treatment for leprosy that was effective during those times. Alice Ball is one of the most influential women in the history of Hawaii. At a young age, she made an incredible contribution in medicine and in the field of science. Alice indeed made a big difference in the treatment of such disease. Despite of her struggle and experiences in life, she continued to search and pursue her dream to study science, as she was inspired by a lot of women working in science. A lot of women in the past were unfortunately overshadowed by men or more experienced counterparts. Alice indeed faced such discrimination because of her color and because she is a young woman. Thus, a lot of people have doubt in her capacity. However, because of her determination, she accomplished a lot despite of the various adversity she faced and have actually saved a lot of people and advanced the field of medicine. She actually have a short film titled The Ball Method, written and directed by Dag Abibi. The film was all about the story of Alice Ball, an African-American chemist who found an effective treatment for leprosy in 1915, when she was only 23 years old.
So, we have heard about some of the women in science whose presence spans the earliest times of the history of science, wherein they have made significant contributions. From these discussions or informations, we can clearly see that if it is widely accepted that creating knowledge and understanding through science will allow us to find solutions to today's acute economic, public health problems like the COVID-19 pandemic, and social and environmental problems, to achieve sustainable development throughout the world, then science cannot continue to deprive itself of the full scientific potential of over half of the planet's population, that is, the women. By promoting gender equality in the scientific community, including women's participation in high-level processes shaping the science agenda and science policies, would ensure deeper insights, more effective programs, and more sustainable outcomes in the context of advancing sustainable and equitable development. Hence, it is more important to take up on this issue of gender inequality and work to overcome gender disparities in access to, influence over, and use of science and other related disciplines.